Yeah, in the latest season, I might have gave Fiscarna a brand new signature move, so of course we have to check it out to see how good it is. Okay then, jumping into the sets, let's first start off with the Recycle Fiscarna. We're running 200 health TPs with 200 range defense TPs to let us be as range tanky as possible. The 8 speed TPs will let us outspeed Colossotrops if they're not running nimble. The 44 energy TPs at level 50 will get us to 254 energy, which will let us use 1 recycle, 1 stratagem, and 5 gulps. Then the 48 range attack TPs are going to be leftovers. For the personality, we're going to want to go with Clever to improve our range bulk even more so. We don't really want to lower our speed, which is why we're not running Very Clever, so instead we're going to be running Smart to increase our damage by a little bit. But if you don't want to do that, you could switch Smart to Robust, and then you could also switch the 48 range attack TPs to melee defense if you want to be even more defensive on the melee side. For the held item, we're going to be using Milkshake, which will let us regen 25% of our maximum health, after our health falls below 50%. And we're going to pair that up with Recycle to constantly get more milkshakes back. Then for the ability, we're running Regift, which will bounce back all support moves that an opponent uses on our Fiscarna. And finally, for the moves, we're running Gulp to remove the opponent's held items, Mudslide to clear our side of the field from entry hazards, Stratagem to apply some offensive pressure using our range defense investments, and then Recycle is going to be used to constantly get more milkshakes. Okay then, hopping into the first battle. Now I will say, unfortunately, Regift doesn't look that great. Like, the only things I can potentially see is like a Baffle from Dorigo, maybe a Baffle from Samarine. Although on that, we might potentially see a bad Nevermare or a bad Paragon, but I feel like that's probably not going to happen. But what we can do is, honestly, be a pretty good wall for a Riptidon and Dorigo. Somewhat. If I want my Fiscarna to like help me against the Dorigo, I need to get rid of its ability, which is why I actually lit up a Ragoon to try and hopefully get this matchup, and I got it. Now I could actually just click Preemptive Strike here, wouldn't be like a terrible idea. I would get to steal Dorigo's ability if it stays in, but they could switch into Nevermare, which is a little bit problematic. I don't exactly have a great switch into it. So clicking Naligash might honestly be better. So I actually will do that. But nope, they just go for Draco Beam. I should have gone for a Preemptive Strike. I was overthinking it, potentially. But hey, that is fine. If Dorigo is running plus shit itself, it doesn't have that anymore. If it's Boots, however, could be a little bit more problematic. But if it throws off a Draco Beam here, it's actually going to lose that +2. So honestly, not that bad. Is there any way that I can try and get around this now, though? I want to try going Stratosaur to tank a Draco Beam and save the Ragoon. That might potentially be the play. There's a Draco. Okay. Stratosaur should take that. Probably the best on my team. I just don't have any like switch-ins for a Dorigo, or really like any ancient type moves at all, to be honest, outside of Stratosaur. Now I can probably go into Fiscarna. The reason why we're doing this is just so I can throw off a Gulp, and I can just basically try and remove any held item for free. And that is actually great news. The Dorigo is not Boots. That means it's most likely like an Essence or Clutch Plushie. So yeah, let's just go for Gulp. I get to remove a held item. Draco Beam, I am fine. Yeah, that's completely fine. So hey, there is Dorigo's held item gone. I'm assuming Clutch, right? Yeah, it is. That's fine. If it hits me again, I kind of want to go for Recycle to get my Milkshake back. But if they switch out, I kind of want to hit them with another Gulp to remove something else's held item. So yeah, I'm actually going to do that. And also, if they Baffle, it's going to backfire. Regift, that's probably the only like time in this battle it's actually going to activate. Basically makes the Dorigo's Baffle fail, and now my Fiscarna gets to use Baffle. I get to lower the Dorigo's stats because it doesn't have Anomaly, and I get to go into my Venusaur. Here, we're just clicking Primal Slash. I should outspeed the Dorigo. We know it isn't Boots, and even if it had Boots, we would have got rid of it. So hey, this is just a free KO for us. Hey, honestly, that's the only thing that Fiscarna had to do. Now, if it helps us out for the potential... What was the other range attacker? Not gonna lie, I really don't remember the other range attacker. It has completely left my mind. But if they brought it, Fiscarna could help us there as well. I see a Taioshinulo. This is really bad news. I have a bad feeling they're going to try and set up bulk ups or something and try and pass that on to a different teammate, right? Is there any way that I can stop that? Not really. Like, not really at all. I think I need to go Ragoon and try and hazard stack as fast as possible. Sharpen, okay. Samarine, Protagon, Nevermare. I actually just Colossotrops. I just don't remember the last Loomian. But the other Loomian I'm thinking of is a range attacker, so Sharpen wouldn't really help them out. What's Sharpen for? What's the accuracy increase for? I honestly could not tell you. I'm gonna go for Icicle Trap, I think, here. Because it gets to hit the Colossotrops and the Nevermare. Wait. It's Protagon. It's Protagon, isn't it? They passed accuracy to Protagon. So it's Dart Burst, just don't miss, right? Is that the idea? I think that's the idea. I actually don't know if Bequeath passes accuracy, because it doesn't show up on the battle tracker. I'm just going to assume it does. This is actually really, really scary. I have got Meditoad. This honestly is my only chance of surviving this, but I can't and I don't want to hard switch into it. I'm going to let Ragoon go down here. There's Energy Surge. That's fine. Okay, so we know it's not Specialty Goggles, right? Because why would you go for Energy Surge there and not your Dart Burst if you passed accuracy? Maybe there was like something else they wanted to bequeath into? I'm a little lost right now, but I'll let them cook. I have got Venusaur as well, which could potentially outspeed the Protagon, but we haven't seen a boot user yet, so I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Let's go Meditoad, throw off Zip Zap. I don't think I saw an Earth type, so should just be a free Zip Zap, right? They stay in, there's the Dart Bursts. Okay, if this hits all 10, I'm assuming the accuracy pass actually works with Bequeath. And that looks like it hit 10 times. Okay, that is actually like pretty big tech. I kind of like that, but Meditoad takes next to no damage. Also, because they've changed moves now, we know it's not Boots, so hey, Venusaur is gonna pick up the KO for us. Let's just go for Mega Punch. That'll be a clean knockout for Protagon. Actually, maybe Venom Slash there would have been better. If it knocked out the Protagon, then it would have been better off into the Nevermare if they want to go that now. A Riptidon was the yellow range attacker. Okay, there we are, yeah. Fiscarna's going to help us with this immensely. I'm kind of tempted just to go into Fiscarna right now, to be honest. So I will. I've got Stratosaur still and Venusaur, so I can always outspeed the Eruptidon unless it goes for like 2 Blaze Rushes. I think like the worst thing that could happen here right now is like clicking Landslide. Actually no, I think clicking Magnify would actually be worse for me right now. Because I'm like just about half health, I think a +2 Eruptidon might just one-shot me. Yeah, I actually might go down to this Eruptidon because I'm so close to half health. If I was like a little bit less health, I could have got my Milkshake to activate. This is like a pretty big gamble here. I need to live this to hit them with a Gulp. There's Landslide, and I just barely live! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And we should get the knockout because we're hitting them for quad effective damage, but we get a critical hit. It doesn't even matter. Oh my gosh. That was a little intense, I'm not gonna lie. There's Nevermare, but it doesn't matter. I could lose this battle now, and I'll be happy. Fiscarna has done its job pretty darn well. Let's just go for a Gulp, just get rid of Nevermare's held item, if they start setting up at the very least. But nope, they just take us out. Completely fine. let's go into my Venusaur, click Primal Slash, and that should hopefully be the game. Okay, there's Primal Slash, and there is the Nevermere gone. Whew. Not gonna lie, that landslide from the Eruptodon was a little scary. Also, actually, their entire team was kind of scary. Dorigo, if I didn't get rid of that anomaly, that could just completely swept my entire team, to be honest. Although my Stratosaur should outspeed it, but if I didn't remove the Clutch Plush it would have always lived a hit. Nevermere in itself is honestly fairly scary. Eruptodon after Magnify is pretty scary. Protogon for me isn't like inherently scary because I generally always have Meditoad on my team, or most of my teams. But the fact that they passed a Sharpen to it for the accuracy increase is honestly really cool tech. I did not even like potentially think about that, but thinking about it, like, that's the only thing they probably would have ever needed to pass accuracy for. I wonder if this Taioshinu has like more setup moves, like Sharpen, yeah, I get, but does it have like Bulk Up or like Peace of Mind or Stretch to try and pass like Speed or any other stats for like a different Loomian Ololan Protogon? Or is this Taioshinu like specifically just for the Protogon, which if that's the case, a little bit less cool, but I mean, hey, it's still pretty fun to see. Next up, let's go over the standard defensive Fiscarna. We're running 200 health TPs and 200 range defense TPs to let us be as range tanky as possible. The 8 speed TPs will let us outspeed Colossotrops if they're not running Nimble. The 44 energy TPs at level 50 will get us to 254 energy, which will let us use 4 Gulps, 2 Mudslides, and 1 Stratagem. Then the 48 range attack TPs are gonna be leftovers. For the personality, we're gonna go with Clever to improve our range bulk even more so, because we don't want to lower our speed, which is why we aren't running very Clever, so instead we're gonna run Smart to increase our damage by a little bit. But if you don't want to do this, you could switch Smart to Robust, and then you could switch the 48 range attack TPs to melee defense if you want to be even more defensive on the melee side. For the held item, we're going to be using Restrictive Shield, which will make us even tankier on the range side, but it does prevent us from using any support moves, so if you wanted to, you could switch this out for a different defensive item like a Heavy Shield or even a Health Amulet. Then for the ability, we're running Regift, which will bounce back all of the support moves an opponent uses on our Fiscarna. And finally, for the moves, we're running Gulp to remove the opponent's held items, Mudslide to clear our side of the field from entry hazards, Stratagem to apply offensive pressure using our range defense investment, and Frost Beam is going to be our coverage option. But there are some other options like Tsunami, Hydroblast, or you could even consider Soft Water, Empathize, and Square One if you don't want to use Restrictive Shield. Okay then, next up let's try the Restrictive Shield Fiscarna, which I will say is way tankier than the previous one that we've gone over. There is a downside though, we can't heal. Okay then, I'm gonna lead up a Ragoon and try and steal either a really good ability, or try and get entry hazards up. So looking at their team, it looks like Cosmere can set up entry hazards, but other than that, I'm most likely going to be using Fiscarna to try and wall the Eruptodon if they brought it. I'm trying to think if they had any Spirit types, and honestly, I don't remember, so I'm just going to click Preemptive Strike, and hey, Tatap stayed in. I will gladly take that Awakening ability. Love to see it. Here, Len, let's just Nalagash. Also, I should say, you can probably tell that my points have dropped significantly. Also, I outsped Tatab. Awesome. Yeah, I was like 400 or 500, somewhere in between there, for the last Fiscarna that we used. Although, for some reason, after that battle, when I switched to this brand new Fiscarna, I just physically can't find people that are using entry hazards or any support moves what Fiscarna is good into. So yeah, I've been forfeiting a lot of battles. So if I battled you and I forfeited and you're wondering why, if whatever I'm trying to use to showcase just isn't good in the battle, specifically like matchup wise, it's just kind of a waste of time to like actually do the battle. I would rather forfeit turn 1 and move on to the next one. So yeah, looking at this battle, it looks like Fiscarna is going to be really good until the Eruptodon slot, and then every time we switch in, I can click Gulp and I can try and remove some held items. The main issue is though, because I am down at 0 rank again, a lot of people might not actually have held items anymore. Oh no, they actually do! Metallic Shell, okay, love to see it. I could probably take a hit from Tyrex, but like I said, because we can't heal, it's definitely a lot harder to like leave it in on certain hits. because I have your snack on my team, there's no reason to leave it in on a Tyrex ever. Let's just go into your snack. Especially because Tyrex, I don't think we saw a terrifying pop-up, so it's most likely Power Jaw. And it could be Thunder Chomp as well. Surprisingly, no Thunder Chomp. Okay, let's go for Heartbreak. This should just take out the Tyrex. Complete Demolition. Interesting. Also, yeah, this animation is a little oofed, but it's fine. I mean, honestly, people don't really use Complete Demolition anymore, but pair it up with a shell, it can do a lot of work. But yeah, I think it is a little bit, like, unnecessary to run it, especially because you can just run Power Jaw and Vice Jaws, which is just better. Kirlo, Eruptodon is back on the field, we're just gonna go into Fiscarna again, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. Stratagem can get us some pretty good damage, but thinking about their team, I think it can only hit Tatab super effective, right? And we already took out Tatab, so probably just gonna stay to Gulp. Okay, then they go for the Soul Burst. I'm assuming Soul Move, yeah. This is gonna do a little bit of damage with the passive. The passive damage did way more damage than the actual move itself, which is kind of funny. Let's go for Gulp Blow. If Eruptodon stays in, I will gladly take the one-shot. They do go for the Withdrawal Low into Skellig. Okay, this could have also been a Soul Burst, so I actually wasn't sure which one would be, but we already saw the Soul Burst Eruptodon. I didn't remove any held item low from the Skellig, so maybe they're actually running 2 Soul Bursts, and they're just choosing which Soul Burst is better in the battle. Which, thinking about it, I think Skellig is probably better for this specific battle than Eruptodon, because I have the Fiscarna. But it has taken some pretty good damage now. That Hellstorm has weakened me quite a lot. I'll just leave your snack in here, and I'll just like trade it for a little bit of damage. I could go for the Baffle, but we don't know what ability is, and if it's combative, that could be really, really bad. And then here we'll go for Shadow Sprint just for a little bit more extra damage before I go down. Okay, never mind, it's actually Bitter Touch. I could have baffled them earlier, but that's fine. Let's just go into Venusaur now. This will just knock out the Skellig for us. Okay, and that is Skellig down. So now they have Eruptodon, and is that it? Or is there another Loomian? There's Eruptodon. We'll have to look at how many Loomians they have left. Okay, they have got something else. I don't think we've seen it yet. Let's go Fiscarna once again. We're just kind of threatening this Eruptodon to always switch out every time we go into this, so I'm completely fine with it. That was a critical hit. Damn. Okay. This Fiscarna is pretty nice. Obviously, like, you could switch out Restrictive Shield for, like, a Heavy Shield if you want Stratagem to get a little bit of a damage buff. The downside is, though, our energy, like, isn't super great on Fiscarna. I don't know if it's, like, necessarily worth it, but you could look into it yourself if you want to. Stamarine is entering the battle. Yeah, Fiscarna does not want to stay in here. Ragoon... I mean, it has got a Clutch plushie, so I'm always guaranteed to get damage on the Eruptodon at the very least, and I'll actually outspeed it, so I'll get to hit it twice. So let's just go Galash. Also, I think click Chomp. We're just gonna look past that, okay. Like I said, we're down to 0 rank points again, which makes sense, but this is like one of the only times where Fiscarna, this specific one, has looked decent in a battle. Again, unfortunately, like, no utility I can really, like, re-give back to them, but just tanking the Eruptodon is pretty nice. Although, to be fair, I have got Galash and Stratosaur, so it's not like I necessarily need the Fiscarna, but you know what I mean. It is just honestly really difficult to have your, like, bulky Loomians that are, like, supportive-wise for videos. Offensive Loomians like showcasing Galash or like Stratosaur or even Venusaur is really easy, because I can use them in basically every single battle, and as long as they get like 1 or 2 KOs, easy. But for Fiscarna, showcasing it actually using its utility-wise with Mudslide Regift is almost impossible sometimes, so I'm just letting you know how it is. This is probably one of the best battles I'm going to have, where the opponent like doesn't just forfeit like fairly early on in the battle. That's also happened a couple of times as well, where Fiscarna is really good into their team, but like after they lose a couple of Loomians and it looks hopeless for them, they kind of forfeit, which is fine. Obviously, I do that as well. It's better not to waste time and just hop into the next battle. But for like video, it's like, I really could have used that battle. But it's fine. And that is Samarine down. Okay, so yeah, that's probably the best I'm going to get for this specific Fiscarna. People are allergic to bringing utility for it, unfortunately. Next up, let's check out the standard offensive Fiscarna. We're running 192 speed TPs with Nimble to let us outspeed Soul Burst Dakudas. The 200 range attack TPs with Smart will let us hit as hard as possible. We don't really need any energy investment, so 4 TPs will do here, and then the 104 health TPs are going to be leftovers. For the held item, I'm going to be using a Wave Shell, which will increase the damage of the first water type move that I use, but if you don't want this, you could switch it out for a nuller offensive held item, like Power Cuss and Essence or even a nuller Shell. Then for the ability, we're running Regift, which will bounce back all of the support moves an opponent uses on our Fiscarna. And finally, for the moves, we're running Tsunami as our strongest and most reliable water stab option. Landslide and Frostbeam are going to be our coverage options, and then Peace of Mind will let us set up to deal even more damage. Although there are some other options like Hydroblast, Gulp, or even Stratagem. Okay, next up, let's finally get into some offensive Fiscarnas, which, like I said in the last battle, it's really difficult to showcase defensive supportive Loomians, especially if they rely on the opponent doing something very specific. Also, I see a Pike, but I'm gonna ignore it, okay? Okay, once again, it is the Ragoon lead. I want to try and steal a good ability. That is a Mutagon, so I will gladly steal Tank or Heavy Fist, but it is Tank, that's fine. I'm not gonna think about it, I'm just gonna click Preemptive, I think. If Wendelin switches in, that would suck, but I'm still clicking Preemptive. Nice. That way I get to steal Tank, and the Mutagon can hit me and break it in the same turn, so that's the idea right there. Now, I could actually save the Ragoon, but I probably don't really need to. I could probably just start setting up entry hazards now, so let's start with some barbs. Icicle Traps probably aren't worth it. I don't think it hits any of their team super effective. And they have got HRTK, which can melt them upon entry, so probably not worth it. Mutagon setting up is actually really scary, but I've got a Venusaur, so I can actually go for a nuller layer of Babs here. If they hit me, next turn I can Naligash, let them take out my Ragoon, and then have Venusaur just get rid of them. But nope, they're getting a little greedy. Not gonna lie, that's very, very greedy. Okay, I've got 2 layer Babs down, because they're getting greedy. Probably not a good idea for me to get greedy. And they go for a Nuller Brawn boost. Do you really think I'm gonna let you get to +6 without punishing you for that? Yeah, I'm sorry man, but you gotta go. Mutagon being down, that is pretty nice. That actually would completely one-shot, I think, all of my Loomians. But again, my Ragoon has a clutch plushie, so it doesn't matter how many times I click Brawn Boost, I'm always gonna live 1. Next up is Chartika. I want to assume Burn Up here, potentially. I could actually just leave Ragoon in and hit it with a Naligash low, right? I want to go Fiscarna, but Plant-type moves could be Life Drain, and also Muck Blast. I don't really want to get poisoned. But this is probably the best Loomian that I can set up against, to be honest. Either way, I should just click Naligash, they stay in, and I almost got the one-shot. And a melee defense decrease. I don't think that was necessary, but I'll take it. Also, yeah, Tank is gonna let me live that really well. Here, let's actually go into the Fiscarna. This should be, like, pretty free. I'm assuming they might actually go for the withdraw here, or they just click Fire Breath again. And they go for the withdraw. Okay, into Seer Knight. This is completely fine. Seer Knight could hit me super effective, but I should always outspeed it. So let's go for a Pom here, and then next turn we'll click a Landslide. I outspeed it, nice. Hopefully they don't click Drudge. That's fine. That's actually not the super effective move. That'll just hit us for neutral damage. So yeah, I could actually go for another Pom. But again, let's not get greedy. They go for the withdraw into Garjone. Could be Hover. It got hit by Barb, so that means it isn't Hover. Also, hey, it's the Ice-type Garjone. I think people have told me that one's probably the worst right now. The Ice-type Garjone is probably like pretty gimmicky, and it's very reliant on like something like Glaciadia being meta-relevant again. So yeah, I think the Electric and the Fire one are probably better to use. But again, all of the Garjones I think are just waiting for the next time they get a move update, which isn't going to be until after Route 9, unfortunately. Here's Wendelin. I'll use my shell to try and KO this. I actually outsped them. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining, okay? After the amount of battles I've had to forfeit, okay, I will gladly take a couple of freebies. But again, it's because I'm like really low ranked, so it is what it is. I'm not gonna say anything about it. Steel Knight is back out once again. This is just easy landslide for us. Okay, love to see that. That should just be a guaranteed one-shot. And now it is the Chartiki, but I think it's on such low health, it should just go down by entering the field, right? Yeah, my rank points have already gone up. So, hey, offensive Fiscarna. It took me one battle to get, like, a decent showcase for it. Whereas the last Fiscarna, I think I legitimately forfeited like 20, 30, maybe 40 battles. I forfeited so many battles. And finally, let's check out the Stall Breaker Fiscarna. We're running 192 speed TPs with a nimble personality to let us outspeed Soul Burst Takuda. The 136 health TPs will let us reach 176 health at level 50, which will let us regen 11 health from health amulets. We don't really need any energy investment, so 4 TPs will do here, and then the 168 range attack TPs with a smart personality is going to increase our damage output as much as possible with the leftover TPs. For the held item, we're going to be using a health amulet to regen health, which will make setting up a lot easier, but it also makes scapegoats a lot more manageable to spam. Then for the ability, we're running Regift, which will bounce back all the support moves an opponent uses on our Fiscarna. And finally, for the moves, we're running Landslide and Frostbeam as our offensive moves, which alone has really good coverage, which is why we're able to drop our Water Stab option. And we have Peace of Mind to let us set up to deal even more damage and to become tankier on the range side, and then Scapegoat will let us set up even easier. Okay, then next up, we're still using a offensive Fiscarna, although this time we've actually dropped our water move for Scapegoat instead. Okay, once again, we're gonna go for the Ragoon lead. I'm gonna try and steal a pretty good ability. That is Protogon. They do have a Spirit-type Loomian. I'm gonna start writing down my opponent's teams because otherwise I'm gonna forget, to be honest. They have got a Charonic, so I want to preemptive strike so the Protogon doesn't hit me, but I probably should click Naligash, anticipating Charonic switching in, right? Let's go for Naligash. They don't switch into Charonics. Maybe they don't actually have it. I'm not sure. I will live a hit guaranteed, and now I get to steal Protogon's ability, and I get a crit. Okay, I'll take it. I am not going to complain about that. Now let's actually save the Ragoon. If I can try and utilize Analyze later, that's actually going to be huge. Let's just go Meditoad. I guess we could have done this on turn 1. Maybe I could have just clicked Preemptive Strike and then switched into Meditoad, but this is fine. Looking at their team, I don't see any Earth types, so Zip Zap is looking very free. Okay, they go for the withdraw into Barbadger. That is actually a pretty scary Loomian, not gonna lie. Gotta be wary because it has got Spy Crush now, so it can actually just completely get rid of my Ragoon before I even get to attack. Let's go. I want to say Eurosnack, but honestly, Venusaur is just better here, right? I should outspeed Barbadger even if it's Boots, and I just throw off a Venom Slash, right? Their only switch into this is like Stratosaur. That's quite literally it. Okay, actually no, they have Charonics. I quite literally wrote down their team, and I already forgot that they could potentially have Charonics, so never mind. Charonics can also switch in, but hey, I'll take the Barbadger knockout. I'm not gonna complain. And next up is Stratosaur. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna leave Venusaur in here. We're just gonna go Meditoad. We could probably get away with trying to set up with Fiscarna against Stratosaur. The main issue is it could have Magnify. I'm most likely going to try and look for that in Phoenix if I have it. Okay then, what are they going to do? I would assume the Soul Move and... Soul Burst and maybe Soul Move for the most damage. But they could also click Magnify, expecting the switch, but if they were going to do that, they probably wouldn't Soul Burst. I guess we'll see. Either way, my Venusaur should always outspeed Stratosaur. Even if it's running very nimble, I'm pretty sure, I want to say. But yeah, here lowly go for Metal Blast, that's completely fine. That'll do negligible damage. And then here, again, just like the last time, we click Zip Zap. Okay, they go for the withdrawal into Infernix. Okay, that is our time for Fiscarna, okay. And the very first thing we're going to do is click Scapegoat. That way, if they go for the withdraw, I get to at least attack them with like the best move I have available. Whereas if I click Peace of Mind here and they switch into like Protagon, I'm not really trying to take a Zip Zap when I'm not behind a Scapegoat. So we always Scapegoat here. Also, the sooner we do set up Scapegoat, the sooner our health amulet is going to start giving us some more health. They go for Dissipate, completely fine. I will at least get to see what they go into and make a decision based on that. Because we're behind the Scapegoat, I'm basically free to go for like any attack. If they go Protagon here or Stratosaur will be really good. I could just go for a Palm. It's actually Charnix. That is really good for us. This could start setting up Magnifies, but Peace of Mind is not a terrible idea for us, right? Like, if we get a few Peace of Minds off, even if they go for a Magnify, I can probably take a hit fairly well. They might need to go for multiple, but at the same time, because I have Scapegoat, I can constantly just keep wasting their energy, so Fiscarna, I think, is actually better against this 1v1. Okay, they stay in. They might be going for a Flash and Flee, maybe, but why would they go into this in the first place? Oh, it's also a Palm. Okay. I'm behind a Scapegoat, so I think ultimately I should still win this 1v1. I guess right now we're just gonna like basically race to get to +6, and then I guess it's whoever critical hits first is gonna win. But because I can set up a Scapegoat, I'm probably guaranteed to win, right? I'm pretty sure. But yeah, here we're just gonna Palm spam. Let's see what they go for. Peace of Mind? Okay. We might spend the next few turns just spamming Peace of Mind. Okay, there's my third Peace of Mind, and they also go for their third Peace of Mind. Here's my fourth Peace of Mind, and they actually choose to attack this turn. Okay, that actually broke my Scapegoat in one hit. That isn't super great for me. This is probably a very offensive Charonyx then. I kind of want to go for Scapegoat again, but it's probably not really worth it. I should probably start doing damage right, because I'm leading now against them in Peace of Mind. And I'm going to outspeed them, so I'm going to hit them before they go for Palm, if they choose to do that this turn. I'm going to go for Frost Beam. They are the same power between Landslide and Frost Beam, but if we get our secondary effect to activate, Frost Beam is obviously better, because Landslide just doesn't have a secondary effect. If I freeze the Charonyx, it is just set up for days. Okay, they actually go for another Palm. I guess I'm going to join you with another Peace of Mind. And I'm assuming they're going to attack this turn, maybe? Lusterloo, oh, that could be kind of bad for us. Okay, maybe I'm actually not better in this 1v1. Maybe Charonyx can actually just stall out my energy more than I can deplete their health. Either way, let's go for our final Peace of Mind, and then we might try and go for a rest to get all of my energy back. There's a Peace of Mind from Lem. It might actually be worth going for a Scapegoat first, and then a rest just so I'm safe, so they can't attack me this turn, and like also get a critical hit on top of that. That's probably the smarter thing to do. So let's Scapegoat here, and they're gonna go for Palm. Okay, so now we're both at +6. Now it's basically going to come down to who is going to critical hit first. But if I get the Frost Beam Freeze on the Charonyx, I think I always win. Anyway, because I am safe this turn, I'm gonna go for rest to get all of my energy back, and they do the exact same thing. Now it's time to start spamming attacks. Okay, let's see how well this goes. Okay, first Frost Beam at +6. Come on, give me the freeze immediately. Unfortunately, I don't get it. They go for Spectral. That is fine. I think Charonyx is actually going to hit us a lot harder because I don't have any defensive TPs, whereas Charonyx is very slow, so it most likely has a lot of defensive TPs. Either way, we could Scapegoat, but Charonyx has a lot of energy. We probably can't really energy stall it that well. I probably just want to go for more Frost Beams. How much does that do? Pretty good. There's a Luster Loot. That is going to do not really that much. Yeah, honestly, that's completely fine. If they keep spamming Luster Loot, honestly not that bad for us. Maybe they're trying to waste my energy low by doing that, because now I need to fire off more Frost Beams. But I should have enough energy to fire off at least 3 more, and they just gave me the Frostbite. Okay, I think that means I just win. If I set up a Scapegoat now, let's see if Charonyx can actually break it in one hit with a Spectral Burst. Okay, there's my Scapegoat, and let's see if I can actually take Luster Loot. I will definitely take. I might not take a Luster Loot and Spectral Bursts. Not sure about that one, but because I'm behind the Scapegoat now, I can actually go for rest pretty safely and get all of my energy back again. I probably could have gone for wait instead of rest, but it's too late now. I've already done it. There's another Luster Loot. Okay, they're getting a lot of health back, but it's fine. 2 Luster Loots might not actually be enough to break a Scapegoat. It might have only broke it because I went for rest. So let's go for another Scapegoat. And this time we're not clicking rest, so we might potentially keep it up for a little bit longer. Let's see what they do. Spectral. It doesn't break my Scapegoat. That's actually really, really good for us now. Now after all of this, it's time to start applying the pressure on Charonyx. There's Luster Loot. They're running pretty low on energy now, honestly, so I'm completely fine. We can probably go for another Scapegoat, because they were getting really low on energy. Although, to be honest, I could probably just hit them. They might be in range of another Frost Beam, but I'm going to play safe and go for Scapegoat. The last thing I need is for them to live, and then to critical hit me, right? There's a Luster. They're out of energy. The main issue now that I'm going to have is I want to try and keep my Scapegoat up for whatever Loomian switches in next, just so I'm safe behind it and I get to actually hit them. Let's go for Frost Beam low. They're waiting. Because they have got like some pretty scary Loomians like Predagon and Stratosaur. Infernix I'm completely fine with, but it's mostly because I'm so low on health now, I might go down to potentially any hit if it hits me super effective, mostly the Predagon. Here, I'm just going to Frost Beam low. That should be the Charonyx down now, right? Nice. Okay. If it's Infernix or Predagon, I have Landslide. If it's Stratosaur, I need to go for Frost Beam. Okay, it is Infernix. Yeah, I'm going to go for Landslide. We actually haven't shown off Landslide yet, I'm pretty sure, right? They stay in. I actually get the outspeed, which is actually really good because that means I get to keep my Scapegoat up. Okay, that's actually really, really good. That's actually really good. If they go Stratosaur here, they could actually go for Dissonant Chord and bypass my Scapegoat while I'm going for a rest, but no, they go Predagon. That is completely fine. I should rest, shouldn't I? I should rest. We might as well try and get as much energy back as possible. There's Thunderstrike. Okay, we're about to see. Can I live a Thunderstrike? I'm at +6. Predagon doesn't have Analyze anymore. So how well do we do? Don't critical hit me. Okay, we live. The only Loomian they have now is Stratosaur. Paralyze is completely fine. It was changed a while ago. It can't fully paralyze us anymore. So yeah, I think Fiscarna just wins here. I did get a little bit lucky with the Charonyx. If I didn't Frostbite it, it could have honestly gone either way, I feel like. But I feel like it was more in their favor after experiencing it a little bit. But yeah, that Frostbite was really, really good for us. And hopefully I live. No critical hit. That should be the one-shot, right? Straussor goes down. Nice. And I think that was the last Loomian, right? Yeah. Okay, well, that was probably the best battle we could have actually showcased for our scapegoat, Fiscarna. It is kind of nasty. They just kind of let me do it, but I mean, I get it. Their idea was to just do the exact same thing with their Char Onyx and just start spamming Luster Loot to keep healthy, but yeah, that Frostbite, I will say, a little bit lucky. But again, all I had to do there really, like, if that wasn't going to work out, is switch into, like, another Loomian like Ragoon or Venusaur, and just wait for the Infernix to come back out, and I would have done the exact same thing against the Infernix, or maybe even Straussor as well.